It is Tuesday, May 16th, 2017. This is the MMA Junkie Radio pre-show. It's the saddest pre-show we'll ever do on this show because our good friend Michael the Voice Schiavello is in studio, which we normally love, but this may be one of the last times he's ever in studio with us because he's moving on. He's moving to Australia, but we're happy for him. Anything that makes him and his family happy, we support. We're just sad to see him go. We're sad to see you go, Michael.
It'll be sad to see me go. It'll be sad to say goodbye to you guys. This sexy man just walked in here. There you go. Where's the trumpet fanfare? George always used to come into a trumpet fanfare, ladies bearing rose petals, bowing down to him.
Wait, I got something.
Come
on, intern! Where are the rose petals at the trumpet fanfare? There we go.
Good? Got it?
That'll work. Good job, Danny.
Is he going to start his monologue?
On today's show, we will have James Vick, who just got a victory at UFC 211, and then Michael will co-host the rest of the show with us. Should be a good time. It's a good time to reminisce on a lot of stuff. It's part of Michael's farewell tour, and we're glad that we were a stop on it. Hi, George.
Hey, don't talk to the man while he's applying lip gloss, okay? Some things are sacred in the industry, goes.
Wow.
Is there an 11th hour decision? Will you be changing your mind?
No changing mind. How do I put the volume up on this intern? Come on, intern. Get with the program here.
Dominic's obviously a boy.
Yes.
And the other baby is a...
Other baby's... Thank you. That's much better. Thank you. Other baby's a boy as well.
Okay.
And,
so I know Vegas is... It is Sin City, but it's not like you're having girls. Not like they're going to be raised to be strippers or anything.
You know what?
Tough boys in the combat sports world.
I can't say a bad word about Vegas. I love Vegas. I've loved my time in Vegas. And
is it your Vegas stat? Well, we'll save it for the show, I guess. But let us know if you change your mind.
I will. You'll be the first to know.
We're going to miss you, seriously.
I know. I'll miss you guys, too.
And that's a long trip. I just wonder how often we'll see you, you know?
Oh, it's a good excuse for you guys to come down under and visit me. Huh?
That didn't sound right.
You can do something about them, them sharks and snakes and octopuses and...
Guys are up in 30.
All them poisonous creatures out there.
Hey, guys, there's some big snakes down under.
Trouser snakes.
Wait.
Boom. There it is. Can't believe you guys hired a Canadian intern.
Coming up in 10. Alright, guys, stand by. Coming up.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our co-host, Back east, handling all the producing duties today, it's going to be Danny. And sitting to my right is our co-host for the day, Michael Schiavello, the Access TV play-by-play standout. He's also a father, husband, author, and a Mason. Great guy.
Thank you for having me here, boys. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I always love
And
coming
a sharp
here.
dresser. I like the shirt.
You like this? My mother-in-law bought me this shirt.
Did she?
The
it's
ostrich
actually-
boots are missing, but
No,
okay.
no, they're already packed away.
Oh, are they?
Deep in the suitcase. But thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here with you boys. Always gives me nice, vibrant, joyous energy in the mornings when I see your smiling faces. I can't believe you hired a Canadian intern and made the poor sucker drive all the way down to Vegas from Canada. You couldn't even fly him in to be your intern, a.k.a. slave, for a few weeks, but he's doing a good job. Makes a killer coffee too, by the way.
Does he really?
I'm impressed you guys
What is
now
that, like
have...
a French vanilla or something?
You
or
now
what?
have a coffee machine in here.
We're moving
All
on
these
up.
years. I know, right? A coffee machine. That's
Hey,
great.
and there's tequila and whiskey back there, too, for after the
And
show.
bongos and everything. It's great. Good
You
to
know
be
what
in
I'm
here.
bitter about?
Hmm.
I shaved my face for this man, and now he leaves?
That's not all he shaved for me, but, you know,
Yeah, it's true.
that's the reason I'm leaving.
No 11th hour decision? It's no change of heart?
No change of heart. You know, it was a decision that my wife and I made a while ago. You know, originally we came to the US and I started working for Access TV in 2009. That's the year they signed me after doing, you know, K1 for a few years and stuff like that. That was beamed on Access, but I wasn't actually signed to them. So they signed me in 2009, and I was traveling back and forth from Australia every 10 days to 2 weeks, which was crazy for about a year and a half or so, and took its toll. And we decided to move over here to Las Vegas in 2011. And originally it was just going to be for 3 years. You know, I said to my wife, like, listen, we'll do it for 3 years, then we'll go back to Australia. And 3 years became another contract renewal, renewal. And, you know, we've been out here for almost 7 years. And we decided time has come to go home. We had our first son was born here in Las Vegas. So, you know, he's a little American Australian. He's got both citizenship. And with a second one on the way, due in July, decided that it's time to go home and raise the family in Australia, and that's where all the family are and all the friends are. And for anyone out there listening, you know how hard it can be when you're away from family and away from your friends and what you know, that sort of system, to be able to raise children. And our utmost priority is, you know, the happiness and the joy and the well-being of our kids. And also, you know, for me, it's my happiness, and I'm happy here, but also my wife's happiness too. And it's just time to go home back to Australia to you know, Vegas has been home for many years, but Australia is always your spiritual home. It's where you're from. There's nothing quite like home.
So it's not like you're Vegas out.
No, not at all. I love Vegas. You know, I can easily sell Vegas to anyone in a few minutes. I love Vegas, no matter if you're a young person, you're an older person. And I've met people from all walks of life, and I interact with people from all walks of life here in Vegas. And I think for raising a family, Vegas is amazing. My 3-year-old is so clever. He is so switched on. He is so smart. And I believe a lot of that comes down to the exposure he's had to so many things here in Vegas. We'll take him out walking the strip every Sunday, and he'd just see things that would open up his imagination. We had memberships to the aquarium here at Mandalay Bay, and the dolphin habitat at Mirage, and the train out in Boulder City, and the museum, the kids' museum up there in northern Las Vegas. We did all these things every week with him, and took him to Gymboree, and took him to Springs Preserve every week, and really opened his imagination. There's so much here, and people think Vegas is just a strip, just about the parties, the casinos, the gambling, the drinking, but outside of that, as you guys know, there's a huge sprawling community of some 1 million people, or maybe a little over 1 million people, and I think it's a great place to raise a family. And I'll never tell anyone it's not a great place to raise a family, but for us, it's had its time now. You know, it's had its time, and it's time to move back home.
Is it tough to leave Access TV and your boys Pat and Ron?
It is. You know, I think leaving Pat will be the saddest thing for me as far as Access TV goes. You know, Pat and I have been working together for many years now, and I believe we form the best combination in mixed martial arts. I really do. I think that the chemistry Pat and I have developed,
Legit.
It is legit. You know, we bounce off each other. And from what we started out when we didn't know each other, when we started out and they basically threw us together, to what we are now, and the way we can just have that rapport with each other and bounce off each other, I don't think there's anyone else that quite has that chemistry that can do that. You know, I've worked with many color commentators over the years, and Pat's the best. There's no one better at dissecting the game, the fight game. Whether we're commentating Muay Thai, or whether we're commentating MMA, whatever it may be, there's no one better at able to communicate that to both the layman and the expert. And, you know, I'll miss that. I'll miss hanging out with him on the road and the discussions we have and the road trips we have. And it's been great having Ron on the road as well and getting to know Ron a whole lot better. And he's become a vital part of the Access TV team, doing the ringside reporting, which is something that Pat and I wanted for years, and finally we have. And I'll miss the crew. You know, those are the guys that really make those broadcasts happen every Friday night. They're not the names you see or you hear, but they're names that are Jason Vaughan, our EP, who took over from the late Daryl Ewald. You know, Daryl passed away last year, which was a huge blow to Access TV, and anyone in the industry who knew Daryl knew that he's the man. He was the captain of the ship. He steered us through every rough sea and always found land. You know, now Jason Vaughan has taken over from that. Jamie McClintock, who after we had a couple of producers leave, is a young guy. You know, he's in his mid-20s, given the chance to step up to the plate, and he's done a fantastic job. You know, he's knocked it out of the park. He's probably the youngest sports producer in the USA, and he's absolutely kicking butt. You know, he's fantastic. Josh Harper, another one, is on the road with us every week. Every time you see a slow-mo or a replay on Access TV, and every time we come back from break and there's a replays package, that's a guy called Josh Harper sitting there, and he does the Super Bowl and he does the NBA, but he also does our shows every Friday night. You know, these guys here are the guts, they're the heart of the team, and I'm going to miss hanging with those guys, because you won't find a better production team doing it the way they do it. And, you know, admittedly, they don't have a budget of an NBC or a TBS or a Fox Sports. They don't have it. But every Friday night, they're producing amazing quality content and amazing production for a shoestring budget that they operate on, and they take it in their stride and they knock it out of the park.
Now, I know Jason Vaughan is filling some big shoes, but has he formed his own identity?
You know, he really has. After Daryl passed away, there was some discussion as to who would be the new EP, because an EP is a very important job. Really, he's the guy that oversees everything on the road, especially the talent. Okay, now for those who don't know, the talent is what you would refer to as myself, Pat, and Ron Kruk.
You guys have talent?
Yeah, you know, apparently that's what they call us in the industry.
Is that like off the air? Or?
Yeah, see, you guys have an intern. We have an EP. But the EP also is very...
I'm trying to make up for all the shots he's given us over the years.
It's going to be a lot of...
parting...
I think we're here for like 5 hours today, right? But the EP takes care of looking after everyone and making sure everything runs smoothly, but especially looking after the talent, which is what was one of Daryl's specialties. So it's something Jason's had to sort of move into and step bumped into, and he's fantastic. You know, he's done a great job, and you can't do anything without an EP, and having him on the road every week as the problem solver and the schmoozer and working everything out is great. All those guys have stepped up to the plate.
What's next for you?
You know what? Next for me is honestly just concentrating on moving back to Australia, setting up house in Australia again, and having...
Do you still have your house out there?
We have a place we rent out in Australia.
Oh, so that'll stay rented out and you're going to get a new spot?
I think so. We'll get a new spot down in Australia. My wife and my son already went back 3 weeks ago. You know, she's pregnant. She's around 30, 31 weeks now, so she had to go set up all the hospital appointments and the OBGYN and all that stuff, midwives and all the hoo-ha that goes with having birth. So I think that's the thing I'm going to concentrate on at the moment, is making sure that all gets done smoothly, that the transition back to Australia for us is smooth. For my son as well, you know, he misses me at the moment. We're Skyping every day, and he's just turned 3 years old last week, and he sort of doesn't realize or understand still what's happening. You know, he'll Skype me on Daddy, and he'll see me in our apartment here in Vegas. He'll be like, Daddy, I want to go back to our apartment. I want to go back to our apartment. He doesn't understand that that's not going to happen. You know, I'm telling him Daddy's coming home soon, and it's tough for a 3-year-old because he's not sure what's going on. He's used to going back to Australia at Christmas time and staying for 3 or 4 weeks, and then hopping on a plane and coming back here and seeing his friends and everything that he's developed here. And now that won't happen, you know, it's I wouldn't say sad to see, but I can understand from a little kid's perspective. So I just want to make sure that transition is smooth, and that's really what I'm going to concentrate on. And then after that, you know, we'll see what opportunities present themselves.
All right. Michael is co-hosting the whole show here. So if you have any questions for him. Oh, and so I guess to follow up on Goes, it just hit me. You're going back, you're settling in, but it's not like you're walking into an immediate gig or anything of sorts.
No, nothing planned. Nothing planned. You know, like I said, I'll see what opportunities pop up.
I think that's going to be refreshing for you to decompress. And
look, I'm just looking forward to family time as well. There's so much that it's hard to explain to people that haven't. I understand that America is very different to Australia. Here in America, everyone I meet is never from where they were born. Okay? You guys weren't born here in Las Vegas.
No.
Okay? Most of those people, if I go out in the street and I say, hey, where are you from? They're not going to say here in Las Vegas are native. Most Americans move away when they're 18 to go to college. That's where they start moving interstate, moving away from home. Whereas in Australia, you're pretty much born, let's say you're born in Melbourne, you live in Melbourne, you die in Melbourne. Very few, you couldn't go up to an Australian and say, hey, where are you from? I couldn't go up to someone in Melbourne and say, where are you from? Because it'd be like 2 suburbs over that way. You know, they're not like they're from another state, from another city. Pretty much everyone just stays in the one spot. So that being said, there's so much that I've missed out on over the last 6 or 7 years. The Father's Days, the Mother's Days, the birthdays, the communions, the baptisms, the weddings, the engagements, the Christmases, the Easters, all that sort of stuff is what I'm really looking forward to getting back to and catching up on. Even Mother's Day last weekend, I had to Skype in and wish my wife a happy Mother's Day, and my mother-in-law and my mum a happy Mother's Day, and my wife was going out with my parents and my sisters and my nieces and nephews, and she said the only thing missing was you. So it'll be nice to finally not have that said to me anymore. The only thing missing was you, and be able to reconnect to that. Because you know what, guys, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much fame you have, how big your ego is, how much you let all that get to you, the one thing you can never put in the bank is family, and you can never put in the bank love. And that spiritual calling to where your heart belongs. And to me, that's the most important thing of all. I can, as long as my family is happy and safe and full of love and know that they're loved and giving love in return, that's the most important thing.
Bravo.
Yeah, we're happy for you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
But is there anything in Vegas that you haven't done? This whole time that you said, one day I'm going to make it to this, and you just haven't been able to do it?
The one thing that usually is the first thing...
I got you.
What do you got?
You want to go to the Rhino, huh? Let's go.
That was the first thing I did when I came to Vegas. Thank you, Ray Seffo. Ray Seffo and I, and my wife was there when we first moved to Vegas.
Him, huh?
You know who we took to Rhino one night?
Who?
Vitor Belfort's dad. Now, that was a weird experience for you, Vitor Belfort's dad.
Did he ask to go, or was that a surprise?
He wanted to go to Rhino. So Ray's like, give me a call. We just come to Vegas. Literally been here for a week. He goes, brother, let's go to Spearmint Rhino. Vitor's dad wants to go. I go, you mean Vitor wants to go? He goes, no, Vitor's dad. So he's sitting there with this old dude that doesn't speak much English. Putting $1 bills in a girl's G-strings. But the one thing I never did, and Irene and I said it about a month ago, I said, listen, we've got to do this before we go. It's a thing most people do straight away when they come to Vegas, but we never did it. Was get a photo in front of the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. We never did it. We never did it. Everything
I've
else...
yet to do it. Have you done it?
No, I've never done it.
Oh, so I'm not the only one that never did it. Yeah, everything else that we wanted to do, we did. The restaurants and the shows, and of course coming on Junkie Radio ad nauseum, and driving around and doing road trips and going to Fremont Street and the rest of it. We have no regrets at all.
Wow, amazing. He really gets out a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think we're more homebodies.
Mob Museum.
He gets out a little bit more.
Mob Museum never really interested me. The Neon Boneyard, Neon Graveyard I've been to, and that was pretty cool.
I've never been there, but I have heard the Mob Museum is underrated, that it's pretty good. So if you literally have a day where there's nothing going on...
It's up near Fremont Street, right?
Yeah,
I might try and get to it and have a look.
I heard it's about a 2-hour walk around. And
it's that long?
Literally, there's a lot of things there that where you say, well, wow, Capone and this guy.
I never got
and
to the Area 51 museum thing they've got. Oh. And I sort of always wanted to check it out, and I looked online, and I was like, it looks a little bit boring.
Grand Canyon? Did you ever
I went to the Grand Canyon with my father-in-law, did the skywalk over the Grand Canyon. Took
that worth it, by the way? I heard it's pretty expensive, and you can't even take a camera, so you literally have to record it up here?
I was lucky because my father-in-law works in the travel industry, and what happened was he and my mother-in-law had come out to Vegas a few months earlier, went back home to Australia, went to an American night function because travel industry does these functions, put their business card in a raffle, and got a prize to back here in Vegas. They came back a few months later, got nights at Cosmopolitan, nights at Caesar's Palace, got a Cirque du Soleil show, and also they got a trip for two to the Grand Canyon. So he took me on that with him. So I was pretty fortunate I didn't have to pay for it. And it's a beautiful experience, so I recommend it to everyone.
Helicopter? You ever done that?
Helicopter was great. And,
Cirque du Soleil, you've done all those shows?
Cirque du Soleil, not all of them, did the ones I wanted to do. Car was my favourite. If you're going to come here to see a Cirque du Soleil show, my wife's favourite was the Beatles' Love. My favourite was Car. I thought Car was unbelievable. Loved it. And the first one we saw was O, and we also saw the one at Treasure Island. Mystere. Cirque du Soleil's, I think, are a must when you come to Vegas.
Michael Jackson?
I never saw it. My wife saw it. I never saw Michael Jackson. Never got a chance to see it. No.
Oh, man.
No.
Just beat it.
You've always been approachable with questions. And this is something that I hear from New Yorkers and Australian people and others. Why is it that what comes out when you mean to say, I saw it, you say, I saw it?
I saw it?
Yeah.
How do you say it?
If you
saw.
say, yeah.
Saw it.
I saw him go by.
Saw it.
I noticed I think New Yorkers say it, and I've heard you say it like I saw it. And
You know
I'm
what
thinking,
it is? Because if I talk to an Australian in this studio in proper speed that Australians talk to each other, you guys would maybe pick up 1 in 5 words that we say. It'd be really hard for you to follow. On television, I've got to slow my voice down for an American audience, whereas in Australia, I'd commentate faster. And when you talk to another Aussie, it's extremely fast because we all our words sort of roll into each other. So when I say I saw it, I never thought of about that before, but it's a good question because then putting a sort of an R sound on the end of saw rides into the I of it.
Okay.
So saw it
But
becomes
you would
almost
spell
one
it
word.
S-A-W, right?
Of course, but say I saw it.
And
so
if I said, hey, can I borrow your chainsaw, you'd say chainsaw or chainsaw?
can I borrow your chainsaw?
Okay, that's all it is. It's just a blending of accent words.
Yeah, so the
whatever.
words flow into each other a lot
Now
more.
I want to hear him go at it.
And you
with
know,
someone
it's
from
even
Australia.
it's even harder if you listen to 2 Kiwis, listen to 2 New Zealanders go at it. They'll be even harder for you to understand. Americans, comparatively to Australians, speak very slowly. Sometimes I'll have a conversation with an American. I'll be like, "Oh my God, is a sentence over yet? Please."
You want to chime in?
Right, please. But it's just a difference of the way that the 2 cultures have developed and the way they speak, I guess. And it comes from us originally speaking Old English, British, and they tie their words into one another as well. I don't know where America came to speak English a whole lot slower and enunciating their words much better than Australia or New Zealanders did, because both came from an English influence. So I don't know where that came, but it's a good observation.
Oh, thank you. All
Good
right.
job, George.
Every once in a while I shine over here.
You do. I will miss you, boys. I tell you what, man. You're a couple of the first friends I ever had in Las Vegas. You really were, and I'll miss you guys terribly.
We're gonna
And
miss you too.
I just love seeing how far you've come in the industry and how humble you've both remained. You're both the same humble, genuine boys that I met years ago, and I know you're never going to change. I'm not going to be one of those people who says, I hope you never change, because I know you're never going to change. You're always going to remain grounded and down to earth, and I love that about you.
Thank you. And what are the chances, Michael, that we're going to see you again? Unless we go that way, do you feel like
You mean
Vegas
see
is
me
a one-year pilgrimage? Or
See me in
every
the US
5
again?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what opportunities are in the future. I'm not going to see myself moving back over here at all.
No, I know about moving, but
And
at
as far as
least-
coming back, I would like to bring my son back when he's a little older.
Yeah.
To show him where he grew up, to show him where he was born, to show him what he used to do, where he used to play, who he used to hang out with, where his apartment was that he grew up in, those formative young years when he was just starting his life. I'd like to do that, but that wouldn't be for the future. I see that as comparable to me going back to Italy that I did in the past and seeing where my parents were born, before they immigrated to Australia, and my wife going back to Greece and seeing where her parents were from before they came to Australia. So for my son, it's going to be coming back to America one day and showing him where he came from and what he used to do before he immigrated, to Australia.
We might have to take a trip down to Melbourne.
I think so.
I think so.
You guys would
I've
tear it
always
up.
wanted to go.
You guys would tear it up. Do a broadcast from down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Hey?
And
I
by
might
the
go in
way,
a big bubble though, one of those big Zorb bubbles. I'll
What do you
just go
mean?
on that so I don't get.
Oh, you don't want to get stung by
anything or
anything?
bit by anything.
All right, I tell you what. Let's get this break out of the way. When we come back, let's take some calls. 866-522-2846. Phone lines are lighting up. I'm sure there's still some residual from this past weekend. UFC 211. I was part of the group there that touches up on the rankings, so I realized, wow, a lot of ranked fighters fought this past Saturday. So still lots to talk about. A few stories coming out from some of the stories we covered, such as Herb Dean's take on that controversial call with Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, and of course now Dustin Poirier wanting to get paid and run it back. That night he was all about telling fans don't boo Eddie Alvarez and this and that, and now he's realizing, wait a minute, I may have been wronged. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close, we'll be right back.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
The most influential rock band of all time is getting their own channel. SiriusXM proudly announces the Beatles channel. Hear the Fab Four 24/7 on the band's one and only official channel, SiriusXM Channel 18. Beatles channel launches, exclusively on SiriusXM May 18th. For more information, visit SiriusXM.com/Beatles. All these sad songs.
You know what? This brings back a lot of memories. This was the last song I ever played on my radio show, which finished up in 2001. This was the very last song of my broadcast. So always brings back very fond but sad memories, but fond memories too.
And why did you choose that song to be your last song?
You know what? I think the song came out at the time, and just something about the song hit a note in me, and I decided to play it as the last song, and it brought out a lot of emotion, made a lot of people cry. It was nice. It was beautiful memories. Thanks for playing it. Yeah.
All right. We're going to take some calls here. If you want to join the party, it's 866-522-2846. Goes mentioned this in the pre-show. We'll also be talking to James Vick, one of the winners from UFC 211 this past weekend. He now goes to 7-1 in the UFC, 11-1 overall, and he's clamoring for a big name. He said if Chiesa or Lee falls out because of that fallout at that Summer Series presser that they had, which I don't think someone will fall out. Hell, and the UFC's been using it to market the fight, for crying out loud. So as disappointed as they may have been that a punch was thrown, the pot was stirred, and there you have it. That's a fight buildup, like it or not. Drama does it. Did you actually catch that, Michael Schiavello?
I didn't catch it. I saw some of the stuff on the internet, but
it made ESPN and everything, man. A punch was thrown, and I was like, oh, but
they're not ballerinas.
Exactly.
Right. It's not a ballet press conference. They're fighters, and if you're going to stir them up, and if you're going to promote that way of promoting, expect the consequences of it. And I see it happening a lot more, and I think it's actually a little bit sad that that a lot of these press conferences are turning into scuffles that look like they're very deliberately staged, or if not deliberately, that the guys think they need to do that to generate a profile in these fight organizations. Not just UFC, there's other fight organizations that are responsible as well, so that's not just pinned on the UFC, but I think it's sad that these guys need to go to those extremes, let's call it, to make a name for themselves and to try and earn a higher payday and try and earn more pay-per-view buys. You know?
It's true. I guess they are setting the tone, right?
I love the way the K1 used to do their press conferences. You know, the K1, the only stipulation they made to every fighter was you've got to be in a suit and tie. Everyone come in a suit and tie. The press conferences were a work of art. They were full-on production. And the guys hammed it up. You know, I used to host a lot of those.
I remember Hari and Graham.
Harry and Graham was one time it came to blows, and I was hosting that one, but there's only a couple of times they came to blows. Otherwise, the guys would verbally go at each other, which was fine, especially Hari and Overeem. That one was maybe the best press conference ever, where Alistair Overeem said he will destroy everyone, and the Hari said, I promise to knock you out in one round. You know, and the way they used to do it, the drama and the production values of those press conferences were incredible. They didn't have to resort to guys, you know, throwing punches and guys sitting there in hoodies, you know, throwing bottles of water at each other and throwing punches. There's no need for it.
Yep. All right, let's get to some calls here. We'll start off with Graham in Ontario. What's up, Graham?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good,
First,
and you?
I wanted to... Oh, good. First, I wanted to congratulate the voice on his illustrious career and also, hope the best for him in Australia. He's making a good decision to go back to his family and everything, so that's wonderful.
Thank you, Graham. It's nice to hear from you, mate. And it's interesting how Americans pronounce that name. You say Graham. Mm-hmm. We say Graham.
Graham?
Yeah.
You're actually pronouncing it better than I am, because you're actually putting something into the H.
How do Canadians pronounce it?
It's Graham. Yeah, there's
Graham.
an H in there.
It's the same with the name Craig. We say Craig and you say Craig.
That's how I said it. I said it like G-R-A-M.
Yeah, Graham.
But really it's G-R-A-H-A-M.
Graham. Yeah, Graham. But thank you, Graham. That's nice to hear, mate. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, it's very important. But I just wanted to see if I could talk to you guys a little bit about the 170-pound division in Tyrone Woodley, and just when he was saying that, you know, neither Mayo nor Masvidal really gets his adrenaline going. You know, he's not interested in those fights. He wants to build his brand. But so I went through the top 10, so we'll go through. So Stephen Thompson, he's lost his last 2 fights to the champ.
Right.
Then Robbie Lawler lost his last fight.
Right.
Then you got Damian Maia, 7-fight win streak.
Right.
Then you got Condon, lost to Damian Maia. Jorge, lost to Damian Maia. Neil Magny, 1-fight win streak, but lost to Damian Maia.
And lost to Jorge.
Dong Young Kim. Oh, yeah. Dong Young Kim, so, okay. maybe.
Who Woodley beat
Also-
in Asia a few years ago.
Yeah, Cerrone lost to Jorge and no active win streak. Gunnar Nelson lost to Maya. And then Kamaru Usman, he's coming up, but I don't think he's ready for the title shot just yet.
Right.
So, out of those names, 7-fight win streak, everyone else is kind of in a loss, besides maybe Neil Magny. And then if you go, okay, so you're thinking about... Okay, sorry.
No, finish up.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then so he's talking about brands and who was the highest brand. Okay, let's go to Twitter and Instagram. Damian Maya, 511,000 followers. Donald Cerrone, 416,000. Condon, 328. Robbie Lawler, 210. And then Tyrone Woodley only has 138,000 followers. So Damian Maya is the bigger brand than Tyrone from the beginning.
Admittedly, some of those guys don't work Twitter as hard as other ones, so it doesn't always come down to most followers represents who's got the highest, marketing out of anyone. But a lot of those guys don't press their social media as much as others. Robbie Lawler, I think, is a classic example. You ask me who's the most exciting out of all those guys, outside of Tyrone Woodley in that division, I think Robbie Lawler. It doesn't reflect in his Twitter followers, but I think Robbie Lawler's the one that gets my adrenaline.
Robbie Lawler, after he knocks someone out, all he has to do is just tweet, "What's up now?" Something like that.
I know, but he's one of those guys that does.
He just chooses not to.
Chooses
Yeah.
not to. But
Like,
for
I'm
me,
not waiting for a bit or a picture or a meme, but if he just puts 3 or 4 words together in a sentence, it's like that's how much his aura carries.
Right.
The power in his hands,
Right.
the history that he has. He won a title at Elite XC, and he's fought the best at Pride and Strikeforce. Came back to UFC, won a world title, and he's never needed to be much of a talker,
right?
Just because, again, he just carries something about him. I still feel like he could do a little bit more, but basically, if you sift through everything Graham is saying, and more importantly, I guess what Woodley's saying, because Graham's the one making the call, Woodley just knows that there's certain fighters that are pay-per-view draws.
Right.
Nick Diaz, GSP, Nate Diaz. Now Bisping, I believe, is becoming one of those. Obviously, Conor McGregor, that's what he wants. Now he knows that there's been a little bit of a pushback when he's been so blatant about it. So I think he's just taking another road, to let you know that within the division, this and that, and who gets me excited. But that's what makes his tail wag is pay-per-view, because he's the champion, and that's what you can get when you become a champion is a cut of that pay-per-view. So, look, I've always said it. GSP was solid 700,000 for the longest time, and it took him a while to get there. But he had this incredible resume, so he gets there. And then what happens is he fights Nick Diaz and says, whoa, look at this check, because Nick Diaz took him over $1 million. A, Nick Diaz is a draw. B, he created drama with GSP, and that drama, that heat, whatever you want to call it, registers. So I think that's just kind of what Woodley wants. But good points there, Graham, in talking about, don't oversee, Maya's 7-fight win streak, and also the social media presence that they may have, and it's a done deal. It sounds like to me a done deal. Not to say that Dana White's never changed his mind before, but it looked pretty official on Saturday night.
Oh, for sure. It's just what frustrates me so much when they have these champions. Okay, he beat Robbie Lawler. Yes, he did a very good job there. The Thompson fights, first one was a little exciting, second one not so much. But he says, I'm the best in the world, I'm the champ, I get the money fights and building my brand. But then he calls out 2 guys that haven't fought in 3 years, or Diaz, who hasn't been successful in 3 years, when there's a, competent opponent waiting, and jiu-jitsu is bigger than ever right now. So I just feel like I'm tired of these champions just wanting the money. It's a sport. I understand it's sports entertainment, but I'm here to watch the sport,
There you go. Great call, Graham. Appreciate you. Let's go to Darcy in Vancouver. We're staying with the Great White North.
I know.
Yeah. What's up, Darcy?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
That's good. Hey, Voice, you remember back in the day having you on Radio TKO and our final round in Vancouver and all the chatting we used to do on the radio. We've lost touch for some years, man, but I'm glad to hear you're doing well.
Darcy, good to hear you, mate. Thank you very much. And I do remember those days fondly indeed.
Yeah, I remember, well, you said, chat memories or whatever, so before I get into anything topical right now, I want to take a cruise down memory lane. There was a time, about 2010, I was young in the game, young in the broadcaster game or whatever. I was hosting out in Vancouver, this and that. By the way, what's up to George and Ghost? How's it going, boys?
Hey, how you doing?
And James from Seattle, and Jason, my fellow Canadian intern, killing it down there. You probably brought Tim Hortons. That's why the goddamn coffee's so good, boys.
He just made me another one.
Yeah, anyways, we were chilling, getting started kind of on the radio show, and it was an internet radio show much like this, so we could be a little more colorful than when we were on terrestrial. You explained in detail your first experience in Tokyo with a bidet in your high-end hotel room, and it made for about the best 20 minutes of radio that I've gone back and listened to a few times and laughed my ass right completely off a few times. I don't know if that rings a bell, but your storytelling game, was diamond back then, even as to what it is now.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember. I remember the bidets quite fondly. I think my scrotum remembers the bidets quite fondly as well. Fondly.
Is Australia?
Much fondly.
Do they have
no bidets
No.
in Australia? No, but in Tokyo or Japan all over, but especially in Tokyo, going to the toilet is an experience because all the toilets have remote controls on them. So you press a button and the seat heaps up, the seat tilts, it cools down, they move to contours your buttocks a little bit, and of course you get this beautiful bidet that you can move back and forth. So if you move it one way, it cleans out the insides. You move it forward a little more and you get a little bit of a happy ending.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Balls, taint, butthole, everything.
Balls fondled as much as you want with nice warm water. Good times.
So it's been cool. It's been cool to watch the progress, man. I know the MFC days and stuff when you're doing the HDNet stuff up in Canada, but you've been owning the game, man. And I mean, as a guy who does play-by-play broadcasting still for a place called Battlefield out here in BC. Man, it's been cool to be able to kind of contour my style a little bit based on what I see out of you and just, killing the game, man. It's crazy to hear that you're going to be moving home and taking some time off. It won't be the same without you having you on the ones and twos, but the broadcaster ones and twos, not the DJ ones and twos.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darcy.
Thank you, Darcy. That was a great
keep
call.
up the play-by-play. And to anyone out there who's doing play-by-play or wants to do play-by-play, my advice is become your own play-by-play person. Be your own person. Stamp yourself as different from the rest. One of the problems I see is that in so many sports, you can honestly take the play-by-play guy out, put another one in, and it sounds exactly the same. These are people using the exact same formula for every single game, whether they're commentating football or basketball or soccer or hockey or even in a lot of the fight sports as well. They're just so interchangeable. But stamp your own authority. Clear your own path and cut your own path and do something that identifies you as a little bit different. And over the years, I think that's what really worked for me and it helped me, achieve success in the field was being different to the rest of the commentators out there. And networks like HDNet, promotions like K1 or Dream, or even when I did the Olympic Games or the Commonwealth Games or the Contender for Mark Burnett or Lucha Underground for Mark Burnett, they saw a point of difference in the way that I commentated, which is what attracted me to them. So that's my advice to everyone. Try and be your own commentator. Don't try and mimic me or mimic Mike Goldberg or mimic Ronaldo. Put your own spin on it. Find your own spin. Do your own thing, like you guys do.
Well, you remember Danny Mainis?
I do.
That's what I was referencing.
I said to the LFA guys, funnily, a couple of weeks ago, I said to Sven Bean, I said, listen, my last show is going to be on June 2nd in Burbank, the LFA show. Let's get Danny Mainis on it for one more time, But unfortunately, it won't happen.
Something else, man. And Pat was like a perfect partner. He caught on, and
dude, I couldn't look for that whole commentary.
I was in tears.
For that, the first one, we did two of them, of course, but the first one, the original one, when we did that, I could not look at Pat the entire fight. He was laughing, and if I looked at him, he was on my left, and if I looked at him,
Pat laugh?
Oh no, worse than that. He was doubled over laughing with his headphones off. If I looked at him, I would have broken up laughing. So I turned to my stage manager, who's this woman in her 40s or 50s or whatever she was in Denver. I turned to her thinking, okay, he'll be a nice straight face. She's pissing herself laughing on the other side of me. I'm like, oh God, I can't look anywhere. I'm just going to look at the monitor and just have tunnel vision, or else I'll lose the plot laughing.
Yeah, well, first of all, Darcy, that was a great call from Vancouver. And also, if anybody is not catching on to what we're talking about, Danny Mainis, who was the promotion that he fought for? I know that can be found because they clipped it and they found the best.
Yeah, he fought once against a guy called Chavez. That was the original one, and that went viral and appeared on the Jimmy Fallon show, and oh God, it went all over the world. That was just crazy. You
so
can
what
find
was the
it on
fight?
YouTube.
Danny Mainis versus who?
Danny Mainis versus someone named Chavez.
Yeah, luckily there was blood, and you guys could reference Mainis.
That fight, George, that fight had everything you could possibly want for comic gold in a fight. Okay, there were two-fisted punches. Yeah. Okay, there was blood coming from every orifice of Chavez's body. It just had everything. There was an eye gouge, an eye poke. There was just everything in that. And then he fought Boston Salmon. So when you got a guy called Salmon and a guy called Mainis fighting each other, well, that lends itself to some gold as well. You can find them both on YouTube, and you'll get a good laugh out of them.
He's still cackling over it.
Yeah.
Scott from Utah. What's up, Scott?
Hey, what's up, boys?
Hello, Scott.
Hey, Hey, speaking of how we pronounce words, George, you ever notice when you say literally, you say literally?
I literally say literally? Literally. Okay, here's, in my defense, ever since I got the Bell's...
up a can of worms, George.
Ever since I got the Bell's palsy, I can struggle in certain pronunciations. I don't whistle as good as I used to. I'm also fat, and when you're fat, something about your tongue gets fatter, or your glands get fatter. You know, I bet you if I were to lose fit, listen to Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg. No offense to those guys, because they're in pretty good shape, but they're thicker dudes. But listen to them like at UFC, like 40 or whatever, and their voices are completely different. Again, they've just, stacked on some muscle, gained a little bit of weight, but that's just what happens when you get older and heavier. But I will keep an eye on that. Literally. All right.
No biggie. Hey, 211, man. The fight that I guess frustrated me the most was that Masvidal fight, man, because I thought he had the fight. I mean, when he fought off Maya in the first round, and when Maya had wearing him like a backpack, or he was wearing Maya like a backpack, and he endured that and started throwing at the end, I thought, this is Masvidal's fight. All he has to do is keep it standing up. But each time Maya would shoot, it seemed like Masvidal would try to prove himself, or prove a point that he could hang with Maya on the ground, because he should have just broke away and kept it standing up, because I think he would have tore him apart. And so I don't know why he didn't do that like Rory McDonald did to Maya when he tore him up. So I don't know, it killed me, because I like Masvidal, and I just saw that he had a way to win that fight, but he just chose not to do it.
The less you touch Damian Maya, the better. So obviously you have to strike him, bring that hand back. But if he gets on you, you have to do everything you can to just get away from having any sort of contact, and that means letting go of a front choke, a guillotine, anything that calls for contact. Because not to say that George didn't have great defense. I mean, even Damian Maya has given him credit. But what happens is you're spending more time defending than being offensive.
Well, I think anytime you can do Damian Maya a favor, I mean, why would you do that? Granted, what I will do, I saw that fight over again. What I will say is this. I think George was a little bit more tired than people perceived in that fight. And I think that's maybe why he hung on some of those instances. But still, he's going to go back and he's going to look at that fight. And that's the type of fight that you're going to kick yourself over and over for fighting that way.
Yeah, and yesterday we talked about the 3 judges that are sitting around. We said, let's say there's 2 jiu-jitsu guys and a boxing guy. The jiu-jitsu guys may be in appreciation. Oh, my God, this guy took his back. Regardless of whether he's sinking it in underneath the neck, if there is some sort of a progression, you don't think there's some respect for that body triangle and the fact that he's switching, as the other guy's defending the choke, he's switching and setting different things up. He's riding them, Masvidal's gas tank's depleting quicker than Maya's. So there could be one jiu-jitsu guy, 2 people that come from that background with a fond appreciation. They're just sitting there watching and going, look at that, the master's at work. And the boxing guy, he may be limited in what he's seeing, but he's not seeing boxing. Hell, he may think that a crossface is actually a choke, and he may be thinking, wow, a submission's taking place here, an attempt at a submission's taking. So Maya's feeding info to these judges that are spread out at different angles. Masvidal isn't. Masvidal's defending. He may be throwing a back fist, or he may be making faces like, get this guy off me, or summoning to the ref to stop it or break it or something, but he's not being offensive. The other guy, it's limited what he's doing, but he is the one on the offense.
I agree.
You just have to put yourself in the position of how are the judges scoring this. I think Maya should have known this by watching Masvidal should have known this by watching previous Maya fights and seeing that can be bad. That can be bad. That position's, I can't do that. You know what I mean? And I'm sure he did it, but come fight day, it was like 3 rounds that replicated each other. That's where the frustration is as a Maya fan and someone who had Masvidal fan and someone who had Masvidal parlay. It still brings tears to my eyes. I should be cashing a ticket up here at the Mandalay Bay, but it didn't happen. Scott, hey, great call, man. We got to move on. We got a lot of calls. We're going to do one more before we get to that last break. It's Brian from Boston. What's up, Brian?
Boys, I feel like the pressure is on. Every call has been spot on, so I'm going to try not to let anybody down.
Okay, and we'll let you know at the end if you did.
It's funny. Yeah. Let me know if I got it.
So far, we're not doing good.
Way. All right, my apologies. So, when I hear a Scottish accent, I always think like the Scottish accent is the coolest accent I've heard. And then I hear the Australian accent, and I'm like, shit, the Australian accent is the coolest. And then I have this friggin' dopey, disgusting Boston accent, so I don't get any accolades whatsoever.
Well, you're close to my favorite accent in America, though. My favorite accent is Rhode Island. I love the accent in Rhode Island. That's the best accent I've heard in America. I used to think Texas was the best accent, and then I started going to Rhode Island for CES shows. The Rhode Island accent blows me away. I love it.
What about on a female? What do you think is the best accent?
Certainly not the New York accent.
No, I'll go back to on a female. I'll go back to like a Texas, that sort of deep southern drawly twang. Is that what you call it? Yeah, the twang sort of accent. I like that
for Cali girls, and
it's not really an accent.
That sound like airheads.
They are.
Yeah, right. But the Providence accent, Rhode Island accent, I love.
Yeah. I'll have to pay attention. I'm not familiar with the Rhode Island one. Hey, I missed yesterday's show, so I'm not sure what we've talked about, but I thought that the card itself from top to bottom was fantastic, minus maybe 2 fights. So I'm just going to mention a couple of fights, and whichever ones you guys want to talk about or haven't talked about yet, I'd love to pop in. So Stipe versus Junior, Maia versus Jorge, or Edgar Rodriguez, Alvarez Poirier, Sherman versus Culture, Vick versus Reyes, or Scully versus Knight. What haven't we touched on?
Maybe a little bit of Scully versus Knight, which was a great
great
back-and-forth fight. It was really good, and it's just to find out that his forearm was broken the whole time. Those guys had a lot of guts, man, in that fight.
There was some Texas versus Mississippi going on in that fight. You know, they're talking about who the toughest hick or hillbilly was. I forget what the exact adjective they used, but very impressed with both guys. But Jason Knight was pretty formidable, you know, there, and you know, I think he's someone to look out for.
Agree. I think those last 2 fights have left a lasting memory, and you know, the guy's got the coolest nickname. He's besides Al Kakui, but you know, I wouldn't mind seeing that kid on every single card because he's always entertaining. And freaking Scully, I mean, how do you do that with a broken arm? You know, but I get a hangnail and I'm the biggest baby on the planet. Never mind.
Adrenaline, man, and you know, they're phenomenal athletes. They're tough athletes. Think about the training camps, how tough they are. They often say, you know, the fight's fun. Actually, the fight's fun. It's the training camps where they get pushed to their limits. But as far as a broken forearm, or we don't know the severity, how if it was a complete fracture or if it wasn't. I know others have fought with that, and then I know others that, you know, were able to get through a round, and that was it. Whether it was a doctor intervening or them just saying I can't go. But Uriah Faber, I think, broke 2 hands and was just throwing elbows one time. So we've seen a lot over the years. It's that leg break. Ooh, that's the one that is pretty nasty. Yeah.
Do I have a second to touch on Alvarez?
1 second. Yeah, hurry up, please.
All right. I go back and look at that, man, and I don't know. Those knees are pretty blatant. Those are 2 of the most blatant knees I've ever seen.
I'll tell you what, buddy.
I'm having a... What's that?
Go ahead and finish your thought. We got to get going.
Go ahead.
That's it. That's pretty much it. Those are 2 of the most blatant knees. I'm having trouble buying or selling.
All right. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we will touch on that a little bit. We've heard a little bit of a reaction from Herb Dean, the referee in that fight. And it got me thinking, too. I want to know, with all the fights that Michael's called over the years, what's that one moment where he's like, ooh, spine tingling, you know? I'm sure you've seen many breaks, blood, all kinds of injuries, so I definitely would like to get, if there's not one, maybe a top 3. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. It's Michael Schiavello in the house, and if you want to call in, 866-522-2846. Stay close, we'll be right back.
In the future, can't wait to see if you open up the gates for me. Reminisce sometime.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Tell your friends and family about SiriusXM's free listening preview that starts tomorrow and runs through May 30th. They'll hear 100 channels of commercial-free music, plus sports, news, talk, and entertainment, including the all-new Beatles channel, which is what you're listening to right now. That launches on Thursday. Tell everyone you know to press the SAT button on their radio to enjoy this special listening event. For the complete channel listing and special subscription offers, they can visit SiriusXM.com/free listen. You said this is your wife's favorite show in Vegas, or is it yours?
The Beatles Love? That was her favorite show.
It's one of my
favorites.
favorites.
I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I liked Car the most. Car blew me away.
Yeah. Hey, you know what it is about Ka? When I was seeing that stage, I just couldn't believe that we built something that can do.
Is that stage phenomenal? And when the actor runs up and they're shooting the arrows at him, like it just.
Yeah.
If anyone's coming to Vegas and I want to see a show, Beatles Love is amazing because the music is awesome. But for just sheer blow-away factor, I think Car is amazing.
I need to see Car again. We blew it with Scott.
You saw the bad one.
We blew it with Scott, man. He invited us.
Oh, he invited you and you guys blew it?
Twat. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Oh, you should have taken that.
Folks, by the way, the Lakers are being represented because tonight is the draft lotto. Not the draft. Tonight is when they decide who's going to draft where. There's a benefit to sucking balls like our team has done the last 5 years, and that's that you get to draft as high as possible. And so we're in this lotto, and we have, I think, anywhere between a 25 to 50% chance
40-something.
just to get one of the top three. That's what we need. If we get one of the top three, we get to keep them. If we don't, it goes to Philly. To get the top one, I think it's like 15% is where we stand a chance. And that's the way we've been building organically through the draft. So we'll see what happens.
Are the Spurs still in?
Yeah, they're down 1-0. When we come back, we will get Schiavello's #1 gross moment, maybe a top 3. And we'll definitely keep talking about UFC 211. Stay close. We'll be right back.
On the run, I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime.
right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. So what are they saying? Bye-bye?
Yeah, all our songs
This is the
today
goodbye
have
theme?
the goodbye theme.
I couldn't tell if he was
it.
saying fight or bye-bye or whatever.
No,
I'm just not a really a boy band connoisseur type guy.
Sure, George.
But I saw you rocking back and
I
forth.
did, man. I love it.
Yeah, I saw you Shazam it, too.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
All right, let's take a few more calls here, and then I got some follow-up questions for Schiavello to see what he got cooking out there in Aussie land. Or you know what? Excuse me. You were going to share gross moments.
Oh, gross.
Actually, I want you to hold on to that for a second because this caller
we can
has been holding for a while. Jeffrey from St. Louis. What's up, Jeffrey?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Schiavello, the mellow fellow. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello, Jeffrey, with nothing rhymes with Jeffrey. Jeffrey! Good. Thank you.
Well, you know this, Jeffrey, my friend. You have been gracious in sharing our, you had him before me, but our broadcast partner, and I thank you for coming on the show with myself and Pat Militich.
Jeffrey Wilson!
Jeffrey Wilson, how you doing, buddy?
Good, mate. Good
Anything
to hear your
wrong
voice.
with Wilson?
Hey?
Anything wrong with Wilson?
Yeah.
No. Damn you and your name, Jeffrey Wilson.
He's like bully-proof, isn't he?
I'm sorry. Hey, kudos, man. Like all these other callers, you have been killing it, man. The game, this is an end of an era. I mean, I've been watching you from, Lucha, going back in the day. I mean, all of it, man. You've just, you've been awesome, man. You and Pat, it's just gonna be a little different, but I guess change is good sometimes. Thank you for everything, bro. Safe travels, continued success, take care of the family, and continued blessings, my friend.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Much appreciated, mate. And take care of Pat for me when I'm gone. He needs to be handled gently.
That's a hefty order. That's a hefty charge, but I will do my best.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate the call, mate.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Jeffrey. All right. Brandon from Louisville up next. What's up, Brandon?
Guys, I can't concentrate. I'm wearing mismatched socks. My shirt's inside out. I just hung up on y'all earlier today thinking I was listening to a podcast and not live. We're 7 days away from the gathering. I'm 7 days away from being back in Vegas. I'm 7 days away from seeing you all again. I got to go. I'm pumped. Bye.
Now that's an accent.
We've gotten a confirmation from Schiavello. He's going to be attending a couple of the events at the Junkie Gathering. So that's very cool.
It's gonna be fun.
All of you that are wondering about it, we got 1 week left. You want to come out and hang out in Vegas. We're going to be doing a lot of fun activities with professional fighters and other notables. All right. Waited long enough. Tell me about some gross moments in your history.
I'm thinking the ones that
commentator.
really stick out. And I think the number one that really sticks out was Dynamite. Was it 2010 or 11 when Aoki broke Hirota's arm? I mean, he had him in like that chicken wing submission, and then he deliberately broke the guy's arm. And when you see the video, and it's on YouTube, you can look it up, Aoki versus Hirota from Dynamite, you see the arm break on camera. So I think, and then he flips him off. He flipped in the bird after that. And there was a big heat. That was a Dream versus Sengoku Dynamite, which was amazing. I think that was pretty gross to see. In Muay Thai, I've seen some horrendous cuts. I know Wayne Parr over the years has received some horrendous cuts, some real money boxes, as we call them, just really deep cuts. There was
Kevin Ross's face at the downtown Las Vegas.
Oh, he got absolutely...
he got carved up pretty good.
Carved up. There was an undercard fight that Pat and I were watching at Legacy last year, I think it was, or maybe the year before, an undercard fight, and the guy got taken down, and as he got taken down, made a mistake that a lot of people make where he tried to post up on his arm, and you could literally see his elbow just snap. And that was absolutely horrendous too.
I don't know if you caught UFC 211, but a couple times when Jessica Andrade was high-crotching Joanna and taking her up, because Joanna has great balance. Like on the one hand, it's great to have great balance and maybe possibly land on your feet, but once that turn is made, and that's what Jessica Andrade wasn't doing, was turning and finishing that takedown in a positive position for her. Especially somebody like Joanna who's got a thin frame, as she's going down, there's a decision there whether if there's something to hold on to, whether she can post or not. Or you have to learn how to fall and learn, and then react from there.
Right. It was a rookie mistake.
Shogun, remember he got his
right,
broken
exactly.
by,
And the poor
Coleman.
kid was in pain, man. I've seen a lot over the years. Jaws broken. K1 when Badahari fought my mate Doug Viney, and Doug got his jaw broken, and then seeing Badahari's jaw get broken in 4 places against Peter Graham. Some horrendous injuries over the years. Guys when they've been knocked out, like the old Crow Cop versus Gonzaga knee, the way the leg sort of goes in the wrong direction. I've seen that maybe 3 or 4 times. I think the worst one, I didn't see it live, but it went viral. It's a video you'll be able to find on YouTube of an old kickboxer from the K1 days called Lloyd Van Dam's. Lloyd Van Dam's big, burly black guy was probably one of the best leg kickers. He was a boring fighter, but his leg kicks were insane. And there's a video of him that went viral. You'll be able to find where he kicks a guy in the leg, and the guy goes to check the kick, and literally his shin snaps in half, and it's dangling at a 90.
Anderson?
Yeah, worse than Anderson. It's dangling at a 90-degree angle
Oof.
to the rest of his. Worse than Anderson. Yeah, look up Lloyd Van Damme's kick, and it went viral. Man, that must have been back in the early to mid 90s, and it was disgusting.
Have you ever had a blooper moment, a silly moment, maybe called the, mixed up the guys or the gals?
Oh man, I mix up the guys sometimes.
Thank you,
dude.
Because if someone at your level's done it,
no,
and I
I
feel
did it a
forgiven
few.
for doing it
I
once
did it
at
a
Tough
few
Enough.
weeks
I
ago.
was given the wrong side. Remember, guys, when we said,
The champion.
folks, we'd like to apologize, but for the first round, we've been,
Dude, I did it a few weeks ago. I think it was at LFA, and it was one of the first fights of
What
the
a
night.
relief.
And then the guys that come out, and I'm talking off some of my notes and talking about their backgrounds, and the fight starts, and I hadn't paid any attention and forgotten which one was which. So I'm commentating the first minute of the fight without mentioning a name. I'm just mentioning techniques, and then I realised Pat's not mentioning a name either. So I hit the guys in the truck. I go, which one's which? Quick! And they go, okay, black shorts is this guy, red shorts is this guy. I'm like, thank you. But I've done it in the past. I've commentated a whole fight where I called the guys incorrectly. Because I just didn't know.
Well, they switched blue and red on us,
Yeah.
and they also had a champion walk out first.
He came out first.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to help us out a little bit too.
No, that happens often.
Have you ever had any tense moments in the fighter interviews? Have you ever had either someone walk out, or you guys are just like mentally checked out and you just
Like
stop
a voice
it? You know,
versus
like,
or
no. When you have the pre.
Yeah. Most guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
Fallon Fox was made life a bit difficult that night that she fought Ashley Evans. I think it was when she fought Ashley Evans Smith.
It was.
She got smashed by Ashley Evans. I know we did
She
two
lost
fights of Fallon's, but I think it was the night she fought Ashley Evans. Of course, the day before the fights, we interview all the fighters in private, and we get information, background information, which is the stuff we read to you when they're walking out to the ring.
On weigh-in day or the day before that?
Weigh-in day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, after weigh-ins, we always interview the fighters the day before. We sat down with Fallon, and we always ask the fighters about their backgrounds, particularly, it's not a thing in Australia, but particularly here in the US, if the fighter has a military background, a Marine, a SEAL, Navy, whatever it is. I know Pat always likes to ask about that because it's something that fans, viewers are interested in. As we sat down with Fallon Fox, and Fallon, when she was was in the Navy. So I thought, okay, we'll bring it up and ask about the time in the Navy, and got really chip on her shoulder that she didn't want to talk about her time when she was a man. Didn't want to talk about any of that background. It's like, dude, she started saying that, well, we can't ask her this, we can't ask her that. During the commentary, you can't say this. And I turned around and said, listen, I don't tell you how to fight. Don't tell me how to commentate. And Pat will tell you the same story. I'd put her in her place. Said, don't tell me how to commentate.
What'd she say?
I've been commentating for a lot longer than you've been fighting. Okay, and I think she got put in her place and decided to answer some of our questions, though not in a very approachable or amicable manner. And there were some problems with her in the change rooms too. She was a little bit rude to people, but other than that, most people have been really amicable and really forthcoming with information, and you have to be. And we always prod the guys. There's a lot of fighters out there, especially the younger guys who are very quiet, very reserved, haven't found their personality yet. And we'll only give one-word answers. We'll ask you, how long was your training camp? 8 weeks. Okay. And what I usually ask is, in that 8 weeks, what did you really focus on? What's looking new and improved and sharp we should look out for that you worked on over the last 8 weeks? Oh, everything. And I'll stop the guy and go, listen, pick something for me. There's got to be something at the moment
That's
really
great that
happy
you're
with.
doing that.
And we always do it every week. It happens every week. I go, tell me something. I go, what do you feel is really sharp? I know you're working everything, but what's really standing out? He goes, my striking. Great. What strikes? Tell me. Is it your kicks are coming better, your knees are coming better, your jabs better, your combinations? And then we get the people to open up, So we're always really, really pushing the guys to give us more information. And just a note to fighters out there, if you don't give us this information, we can't sell you. And if we can't sell you where we're from, you can't sell it in the ring, because there's been many a great fighter that have been fantastic fighters in the cage or in the ring that have zero personality outside of it and don't sell themselves, so have never attained that big money fights, the big pay-per-view
and
fights.
guess what? If the UFC is watching or listening, they're going to be presented with they're going to say, okay, hey, we can fill 2 positions here at 145.
Right.
We start looking here or there. And when it comes down to 4, guess what? 2 of them are going to be eliminated. It's the ones that aren't excited about their own brand, around their own careers, and the other two that give fabulous interviews and are open and and have shared their life experiences, that might make the difference.
It makes the big difference.
The game's going to continue to grow up, and
it makes a big difference. And also know that if you're a commentator, you're an interviewer, everyone has something to say. You just sometimes have to, and you guys know this from interviewing people every day, sometimes you've got to rephrase the questions, turn it around, pry and probe, and get that information, because everyone does have a story.
Is there a voice versus that either got away or one you've always wanted to do that you just ran out of time for?
There were a few, Gina Carano was one. I wanted to go out with the final. I had never done a female guest, and I wanted to go out with Gina Carano. We'd organised to do Gina before Christmas of last year, and we'd organised to go to Dublin, California, shoot her in a hotel room there, a suite there that we organised, and it was going to be great. And I had magnificent questions, done a lot of research, and then Gina, emails me the day before the interview and said she was stuck here in Vegas with the flu, so we had to cancel that. Tried to reorganise it, never could reorganise it again. It was a shame we didn't get that one. I think that would have been great to do. Randy Macho Man Savage was one that I was looking to do, and the freaky thing was the day that The Voice versus Hulk Hogan aired, that morning Randy died.
Oh, wow.
He was going to be the next guest after Hulk Hogan. We were going to play off the Hulk Hogan interview.
You had already initiated contact?
Yeah, it was going to happen. Then get a hold of Randy and do Randy, and that never happened. The Ultimate Warrior, I think a lot of people know the story there, that we had the Ultimate Warrior locked in for a voice versus. He was upset with Hulk Hogan's comments about him during the interview, so we said to Warrior and his manager, all right, we'll do a voice versus with you. We'd love to have you on and your chance to talk about Hogan. And it was all booked in to go to shoot it in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think that's where Warrior lives. Santa Fe It was all booked in to do, and we wanted Warrior to do a couple of promos for it, so sent him a couple of promo ideas. Very basic promo. If I remember, it said something along the lines of, hey, I'm the Ultimate Warrior, and in The Voice versus Hulk Hogan said A, B, and C about me. Well, on this date, I'm going to say A, B, and C and, set the story straight. Warrior's agent calls us and says Warrior doesn't want to do this. He finds it too confrontational. I'm like, what? It's the Ultimate Warrior. Did you ever watch any of this guy's interviews? Have you ever seen this guy get interviewed? Watch any of his stuff on YouTube? He finds this very PG-rated promo too confrontational. Then he starts making all these excuses up, and then said he had to go out and fight some nuclear bushfire, whatever that is, a nuclear bushfire somewhere in New Mexico. Made all these excuses. So basically rang his agent and said, listen, we're cancelling the interview because it costs a lot of money to film a Voice Versus episode. A whole crew has to go out there, hotels and reservations and flights and all the preparation and everything. We're going to cancel because you haven't been able to convince us you can lock it down. They flew off the radar, and Ultimate Warrior lost his marbles and went on YouTube and gave myself a serve and gave Andrew Simon a serve, and the rest was history. So that was one that got away, but I think that was his own doing, his own craziness that led to the undoing. But other than that, I'm really happy with all the Voice versus guests we had over the year. Every episode has a soft spot for me. I think the Stone Cold Steve Austin episode was probably my favourite of all time. I think that was just, if there was one case of nailing the perfect interview for an hour, I think that was it. That was just an extraordinary experience, an extraordinary interview, and I think that's the one I'll most remember. And Dana White was amazing. Michael Jai White was amazing. Frank Dukes was amazing. George Foreman, Sugar Ray Leonard, all of them were just, everyone, even
Diego Maradona? Doesn't that one stand out to you as one of your favorites?
It wasn't a Voice versus.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, he was a little prick.
I know you didn't like him.
But they were good times. I'll miss doing the Voice versus, and hopefully I might get a chance to replicate something like that down under one day. But they were great. And I thank all my guests over the years on the Voice versus. None of them got paid for any of those interviews. And to do a 1 hour television interview these days is unheard of. Unless it's an Oprah special. It's unheard of. And to do a 1 hour TV interview, and those interviews didn't just go for an hour. They pretty much all went for about 90 minutes, but they got stripped back to an hour for TV. It's not easy. It's not easy. And these guys gave their time, gave great interviews, even doing Fedor for an hour. Fedor's hard enough to interview for 5 minutes, let alone I had him for an hour. And he gave a great interview, very honest and very open. So I'm thankful to all the Voice versus guests over the year. It started with Joe Rogan, and went all the way through, and it was fun.
All right, so when you get to Australia, this is one thing we haven't talked about. I know family time is of the most importance, of the essence. But eventually, what do you think The Voice is going to do? Is it staying in broadcasting, a new career path?
I think staying in broadcasting will be the plan.
Is there a specific sport you're gunning for, or is there enough combat sports out there that maybe you might stay busy? Or
I don't know. Part of me would like to get back to doing some soccer commentary, and part of me wants to, of course, stay in the fight game. I've been commentating fight sports since 1995. So I think pretty much longer than any other, certainly any other mixed martial arts commentator. No one's been commentating since, I believe it was 95, the first one I did, and covering fight sports since 92. I was writing articles about the first UFC in 1993. So I'd love to stay involved in the fight game and still commentate the fights, and whether it be mixed martial arts or kickboxing or boxing or whatever it may be. It's something I'd love to do. But as I said, first things first is just concentrating on the transition and the family and the newborn and getting that all sorted out, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Maybe radio, a podcast?
Yeah, podcasts never really interested me, to be honest. It seemed like a lot of effort I don't need my ego stroked, so I don't need to say I've got 1,000 listeners on a podcast. You're going to pay me money, a different story. But if you're not going to pay me money, I don't need my ego stroked to do a podcast. I really don't.
The podcast world is, to answer that, is starting to blow up and become lucrative for many.
Yeah, if I can find a lucrative way to do a podcast, I'll do it. Otherwise,
and it allows you to stay home and But
you know what? I've worked from home before, and it's not something I enjoy doing. If I was going to go back into broadcasting on the airwaves, so to speak, I'd rather go to a radio where I get into a studio like this every day, and it makes for a better show. You guys would be a lot different show if you were doing this from your lounge room at home than to what it is coming in here with this atmosphere, because there's
over here we have to wear pants,
right? Well, can you stop touching the floor there too, George? But anyone knows that anyone that's done radio, it's always a buzz going into a studio rather than doing something, a podcast at home, and it distinguishes and differentiates people that have a professional attitude to those that have an amateur basement attitude. And so podcasts, unless I'm getting paid well for it, never really interested me.
Now, I know you're settling back in Australia now, but I started thinking, if the old lady, Juventus, called and said, hey, we heard you on MMAjunkie Radio, we actually would like you to call Juventus.
Oh, that'd be tempting.
Move to Italy?
That'd be tempting. I'll tell you what, my sister lived there for 6 years, and
intern.
The answer is yes.
That would be very tempting to commentate Juventus games over in Italy. I'll tell you what.
Is that a dream job? Is that one of them, or
you know what? I think it'd be nice to get back to soccer commentary one day. A dream job, maybe like a bucket list, but not something I'm banging down doors looking for. No, I've covered 2 World Cups, and I've done a lot of stuff in the soccer realms, and I've been covering soccer since 1991, a long time, and I know the game inside out, and it'd be fun to get into. We'll see what the future holds.
Here's a message from a caller that can't call in. He says, so long to The Voice. I'll never forget buying Michael some hot dogs at the Arena Theater. I think it's in Houston.
Yes.
It's Joe from Houston.
Thank you, Joe.
Good luck back home.
Thank you.
Says he can't call in, but
some good memories at the Arena Theater in Houston, where Legacy's home, and I think they're going back there as LFA on June 30th for 2 title fights. I won't be there for it. Again, to let everyone know that my last show on Access TV will be June 2nd for LFA in Burbank. I believe Boston Salmon's on that card. I believe Sabina Marzo's on that card. Going to be a very good card. So if you're in the Burbank, LA area, you want to come out to say goodbye, that will be the last show on June the 2nd. We've got one this week in Minnesota, LFA. Next week, there's no show on Access TV. We're doing a best of CES, I believe. And then the week after, June 2nd, will be my final show.
CES, the MMA promotion, or CES, the porn convention here in Vegas?
No, that would be on a different network. Jimmy Birchfield and Pat Sullivan, the team from CES, do some amazing shows. And I want to throw this out there as well, is that, Access TV released their fight rankings officially last week, the Access TV fight rankings. I think you can find them probably on MMAjunkie.
Well, I used to see Pat's rankings. Is that different?
No, it's the same, but it was originally called Pat's Prospects.
Oh, okay.
But then what happened was, really all the guys in the truck, and Pat and I and Ron Kruk were all coming up with these rankings, because we see the fights every week in and out. And we started saying a couple of months ago, it's useless calling them Pat's Prospects, because really they're all of us coming up with these rankings and how these fighters should be ranked. They should be the Access TV Fights rankings. So it's changed to that. But for those rankings, in my opinion, to really make sense and be really legitimate rankings, guys have to be able to fight between those promotions, between CES and LFA.
We asked Andrew about that, and he's open to it. piggybacking off 2 years ago. Remember when it was
Right.
LFC and RFA?
But the pity is it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense for a guy like Matt Bissett, who wins last week and is the best featherweight outside of the UFC. And now we're going to put him at number 1 of the Access TV fights rankings. And Barcelos will move down and Bissett will go to number 1. But there's no reason why shouldn't Bissett be able to fight Barcelos? Why can't Bissett fight the champion of LFA, Roberto Sanchez? Because the only way you can do a top 5 or a top 10 is if the guys can fight each other. Otherwise, it makes no sense to do it. So you know what? A message to LFA, come on guys, step up. I know that Jimmy Birchfield and Pat Sullivan have willingly let their guys fight the LFA guys and have called out the LFA guys. And we can match a CES team against an LFA team that people think it's going to be a run through the park for LFA. No way, man. I'll put my money on CES maybe trumping LFA in a lot of these divisions. They've got some fantastic fighters that aren't getting the publicity that LFA is getting. So let's not dodge them. Let's make these fights happen. They don't have to happen as inter-promotional battles, so to speak, on a supercard. It's fighter swapping. It's fighter lending. CES lends Chris Curtis, their welterweight champion, to fight the welterweight champion of LFA. LFA lends their heavyweight, champion to fight Ashley Gooch, the champion of CES. Lend and swap around. That's how you make Access TV Fights rankings truly legitimate rankings. And these are fights that need to take place.
I'd love to see it. It sounds like it'd be a ripper.
Yeah, it would be a ripper.
All right, let's talk to Ray from San Antonio. What's up, Ray? How you doing?
Hey, good guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, these podcast guys, Michael, they need their ego stroke. They have to have a gathering where we all got to go over there and stroke their egos off,
These guys have far surpassed the podcast days. I'll tell you what.
Next week there'll be more stroking going on than the Jenna Hayes video.
Oh, there you go.
Mike picking it up here?
There you know what? It was funny because last week we were in Providence, and I noticed on Twitter she was in Providence. I was going to almost invite her to a show, but I think our showtime clashed with her showtime. I think she was scheduled on the pole at 10 p.m. and you were on 9 p.m. But
that's her final run. Then she's actually exiting adult world at all.
Yeah. She is? What's
she's
she gonna
chasing her. She's actually, I think, got her master's and going for a doctorate in psychology.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good luck to her.
Do you think there's more ground and pound at his show or hers?
Oh, the boys are on fire tonight.
Yeah. Hey, Ray, are you hurting over that Spurs choke job, man?
Oh, yeah, I definitely am.
Dude,
hey,
that's a key game, man, because you got to win one in G-State. Now you got to win 2 in G-State. You had to win one just before the series started. Now you got to win 2, and then
I'm with you, Ray. Go Spurs. I hope they win the whole thing.
You know what? I just wanted to be a series. Nobody's given us a chance, and nobody expected that either. If Kawhi didn't go down, I think we wouldn't have lost. But I'm not saying that it's Kawhi. I mean, it's because of Kawhi. It's just unfortunate. It's just a big turn of events there, and it changes everything, But the good thing is that his MRI came out okay. There's nothing structurally wrong, so he'll
shoulda, woulda, coulda. If my aunt had
I go for teams
balls,
based on
she'd be my uncle.
based on my love of the city.
Not trying to hear it, and
I
I'm
love
not
San
trying to
Antonio.
hear Golden State talking about choke jobs because they choked last year as well. So both teams have experienced choking. I hear you. I thought that closeout by that the European fella was a little dirty. Put your hand up, come in on him, but he took an extra step in, and I thought it was a dirty play. And I apologize. They still only have to win 1. They can still win 3 at home and 1. So there you have it. I was wrong, but that's going to be a tough task. All right, you have a question for Schiavello or for us?
Yeah. No, I want to talk to you. I just want to tell Mike thank you for everything he's done, especially for line fights. I mean, I would have never gotten so hooked on line fights. I mean, well, actually, I'm lying, regardless if you were there or not. But you made it that much more better.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna really miss that. And I just saw you here not too long ago at the LFA, I believe, with in San Antonio. But I know with your busy schedule, is there any chance you'll pop in at the gathering?
Yeah, I'm planning on being at the gathering. So if you're there, come up and say hello. And I always loved visiting San Antonio. San Antonio is one of my favorite cities I've been to in the States. Definitely my favorite city in Texas. I'm not a fan of Dallas. I never liked Dallas. I think it's got a cold, weird vibe to it. But I love San Antonio. The only shame about San Antonio is we always did those shows in a complete shithole of a venue. And hopefully, San Antonio will find a better venue to do shows in the future. But the city itself, I love San Antonio.
That is so true, and and I agree with you about Dallas. Dallas is cold, ugly, shitty place too as well. But
You know,
man, I gotta go, guys.
Yeah, good on you, Ray. Good luck to
The
you, mate.
city's cold, or the people are cold, or
No, people are lovely. The city's just got a weird vibe. I never liked Dallas, man.
Really?
I never liked going there. It's just a weird, cold, ugly vibe to it. San Antonio is beautiful. The only thing that sucked was going to do those shows out of the Cowboys dance hall. And, you know, to be honest, LFA is above that, way above that, doing shows in a little shitty venue where you got dirt on the floor and friggin' cattle stations and that.
Hay,
yeah,
barns
really.
instead of
People
dressing
line
rooms?
dancing next door, and you can hear the line dancing
Really?
music during the fights. They're way above that, man. So I hope that they go back to San Antonio because it's a great city. They love their fighting, a really good fight audience, but in a better venue, hopefully.
Did you ever go back there after the fights and do a two-step or anything?
Trust me, you don't want to do that there afterwards.
Okay.
Were good fights barn burners or hoot nannies?
Barn burners.
Yeah.
If we have time when we come back, I'll tell you about the time I was doing a line dance and I got almost my toes broken by one of them boots.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, so I try and stay away from them country bars, man. All right, folks, we're gonna take this break. When we come back, we'll be talking to James Vick. We still got a couple Texans on hold. Maybe they might be a little bit offended here. So give us a few minutes. It's MMA Junkie Radio. We have Michael Schiavello in studio. right, so we're going to take a quick break here from Schiavello Talk. Unfortunately, he'll be leaving us in about 3 weeks. He's heading back to Australia. So it's been fun here doing this last show with him. But now we've gotten confirmation that this won't be the last time we see him. A lot of you junkies that come up for the Junkie Gathering, you'll see Schiavello at a few of the events. We'll talk more about that. So at least I feel like there's still some more time to reminisce and have some good laughs.
I came in here sad, man. I came in here pretty sad.
Me too, man.
Hey, think of your guys' stripper name, right? I want to know what you would be if
I was
a female stripper, though.
If I was a female. All right, I'll think about it. All right, right now I want to bring in James Vick. James Vick was successful on Saturday night by winning his fight over a tough Marco Polo Reyes. He dispatched of him in the first round. He now goes to an overall record of 11-1 and I believe 7-1 in the UFC. So that's quite a resume that he brings to the table. And now he's looking to maybe fill in for Kevin Lee or Michael Chiesa in case something goes wrong there. But I like it. He's attaching himself to one of those ranked names, and that's the way to do it. So let's bring him on. It's James Vick. How you doing, James?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Congratulations on your win on Saturday night. It was really, really a fun event, and the early portion of the card was stellar. It kind of like staggered a little bit towards the end. The main event was classic, but your fight was one of those ones, man, that really got things cooking out there in Dallas.
Yeah, it was a good card. I felt like it was successful, obviously for me and for the UFC to come to Dallas, and hopefully they come back soon.
Reyes is a tough guy. Did it even shock you that you were able to dispatch of him so quickly?
Yeah, just really, not that I thought I could finish him. I knew I was going to finish him within the first 2 rounds, but really that was basically the first real exchange I had with him. I caught him. That surprised me a little bit that I caught him, basically the first time I set my feet and actually threw some punches. So I was a little surprised, but I knew I was going to finish him within 2 rounds.
Yeah, definitely, man. That was awesome. And, you bouncing back from that Dariush loss, I've been very impressed. A lot of people acquire a second loss in a row, sometimes a third. Sometimes they tailspin, change teams, or whatever. But in your case, you've actually beaten 2 real tough guys in your comeback, and you finished them both.
Yeah, man, I just got caught that fight. I got caught. I got hit with a flash knockdown, and that wasn't even the problem. I just took the shots from the ground. The ground can't really miss me up, and I couldn't recover. And it's not like Dariush is ranked number 5 or 6 in the world now, and it's not like I got hit with 1 shot and got finished. It took 20-something blows to finish me. And in my mind, in a rematch, I win that fight, and I win any fight. Any fight. I think a lot of these guys, you see them, they lose and then they just can't get over it. Or they switch their team and they're playing everyone else but themselves. That's mental weakness. Switching your training up your whole program, changing your whole program up just because you take a loss. That's ridiculous. I just, in my mind, I just got caught, and it was more of what he did right there. I didn't know.
What do you want more? Some sort of a rematch with a Dariush at some point? Or like you said in some social media or an interview I saw where you just want to, maybe face like a Kevin Lee or a Michael Chiesa if one of them falls out or yet another opponent? Like, are you consumed with the loss or do you want a fresh name?
Oh, I'm consumed with losses for sure. That's a big reason why I want to fight Michael Chiesa because he actually beat me in the Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. So that was 5 years ago, and I know I'm with his ass now. I know I won't fight. I mean, we're cool. Me and Mike have always been cool. And I said sleep after the fight. I looked at him. I said, hey, I got to call you out right before the last. And then I saw him on the bus in the back, and he shook my hand and congratulated me. I was like, hey, at least I warned you this time, because I've been calling him out for years, and it's, I don't have a problem with Kevin Lee or anything, or Chiesa. We're friends. The kids have beat me before, but I saw him for rematch, and the fact it's both of them are ranked higher than me. So yeah, I want the higher ranking, but yeah, I want publicity as well. Just like I talked about. I mean, this shit's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some of the guys that they promote, they literally have no future in this sport.
James Vick, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Goes, what do you have for James?
James, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. I know you talked a little bit about wanting more promotion from your promotion. Have you heard anything back, though, from them? Have they offered any input on that?
Yeah. Things are about to get popping, man. I'm about to be a household name already. To speak to the new head PR lady in the back for probably a good 30 minutes after the fight. And she was very receptive and listened to everything I had to say. I'm going to have a meeting with her. I'm actually flying to the fighters retreat this weekend, and I'm going to get to sit down with them. She's going to put me in front of a lot of the WME people and see if they have some good ideas for me and stuff. So I'm excited about that. And then she already told me she's going to fly me out to a couple of events already and, let me do some appearances that way. And then also I got to speak to Dana before I left town, or before he left that night. And he gave me his number, and we're setting up, and while I'm out there, I'm going to have a meeting with him to negotiate a new deal.
Look at you. A go-getter, a hustler. We were just talking about that. The guys that lay the egg at the interview, and here's a guy that's being proactive. He talked to the #1 PR lady, Lene Breckenridge is her name, the UFC president. He had a 30-minute meeting. He got with the lady. He's got the president's number. He's coming out, preparing himself for a meeting with WME. Bravo, James Vick, seriously.
He got booked on this show. He's off to a great start.
And he's on MMAjunkie Radio, yeah.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go ahead.
Oh, you dummy. You should have said, no, you go ahead. Let's see how long we can keep it up.
James is a gamer. He would have.
I know. I'm just kidding.
James, you're probably one of the tallest fighters in your weight class, if not the tallest. And we know about all the advantages that come with being a tall fighter. Are there any disadvantages at all for you?
There is. For a taller guy, one thing that's kind of funny is the disadvantages obviously are not even close to as many advantages I have, but, being a taller guy, one hard thing it is to be a taller guy is, like in the wrestling department, you really have to.
Oh, true.
And it's not necessarily a tall guy, but a taller guy for my weight class, like I'm tall. It's like John Jones is a tall guy, but he's also he fights 6 foot tall guys. They're similar in height sometimes, so it's different. It's really hard to change levels and shoot like double legs and stuff like that. So if you go for takedowns, I'm not really a takedown guy anywhere. I try to knock people out or stand up with them. I submit people because they try to take me down, basically. But it's hard to change levels and do specific takedowns and double legs. Just because no matter how good your wrestling is, they're going to see your level change when they're 5'9" and you're 6'3". You can't stop that. So there's some disadvantages, but as a whole, I would take being taller over shorter anything.
James, I know you're going to be in Vegas pretty soon, and I think we'd love to do an in-studio interview with you.
Hell yeah.
One thing that I know he's got, because you used to be a bouncer, right, at a nightclub? You got to have some good street fight stories in there, right?
Oh, I got the fucking best, bro. I got the best. I've been bouncing off and on since I was right at 19, right at 20 years old until I was at 28. So I did basically a good 8.5 years of bouncing.
Wow.
Several clubs, strip clubs, country bars, downtown. I'm working all, so I got some really good stories.
When do you get into town? I know some fighters are getting in Thursday, some on Friday. And when do you leave? Do you know?
I get in Friday, and then I leave on Monday morning.
Damn you, James. What time do you get in on Friday?
I'm not sure. I think maybe 3 or so, and then I have to be there at the thing at 6 or that day. Honestly, maybe the only day I could pull something off with you guys would be Sunday evening, like 7 or so.
We're a Monday through Friday show, but we'll talk. We'll see if we can figure something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, man, I wish you would have got a bonus. That was outstanding. It's a bummer. Maybe you'll get a discretionary if they still do them or what.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of the way you're. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm really proud of the way that you're taking your career into your hands, because you're 1 of 500. That's what the stable is, about 550, whatever they have it at. And you can become a blip on the radar just like that. There's no reason why a guy that's 11-1, 7-1 in the UFC is not being talked about more. So get after it, brother.
Sure. I was very disappointed about the bonus, because in my mind, I should be $100,000 richer, because I should win that bonus when I beat Abel Trujillo as well. Like, I don't understand what the hell I can do to get a bonus. That shit is definitely favoritism, or I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. But I'm not worried about it, and I have nothing negative to say about the UFC because also, I texted Dale Lye, and I was like, I should have got that bonus, and I texted him that with a sad face, and he's like, yeah, you were definitely in the running, and he basically just said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of you for this performance. So I'm optimistic when I get there, I'm going to get a little bonus done to me too. So the sky is blue right now, and I'm happy as can be. And I know this big push is about to come. I really believe it. It has been ridiculous to me to see some of these guys and girls with 500 records getting co-main event spots, getting as much money as I'm getting paid, getting guest appearances on all these places, getting flown out the Metro PCS or UFC fly them out, paying them $1,000, $2,000 a pop to come watch the fights and shit like that. And you sit in the crowd and they have 500 records, so they're going nowhere. Like, I'm going to be a world champion. In my heart, in my mind, I'm 100% going to be a world champion. And 90% of those people ain't never going to be even close to that, and they're getting all this attention and shit. And it has been annoying, but I've kept my mouth shut. A lot of it, I haven't been active. I had been injured, a lot, but at the same time, this last year, I've had 4 fights. So I have been active, and I'm healthy as shit right now. So I'm ready to go. If I had to, I could fight next week. I just got to keep the weight, maintain the weight and stuff. And I got Bruce Lockhart, who's the best nutritionist. So I'm ready to go, and I know things are about to get popping for me after this meeting this weekend.
Thank you for the time, my man. We have to move along, but it's great catching up with you. That was an outstanding performance on Saturday. And if time allows, hopefully we can do something while you're out here in town.
Sir, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, James. Take care. That is James Vick, UFC lightweight, 11-1 overall, 7-1 in the UFC. Making noise for himself. I like it. All right, folks. Quick commercial time. When we come back, we'll finish up with some calls. And we're closing in on probably our last show ever with Michael Schiavello, but not the last time we'll see him. He is moving back to Australia. Access TV, play-by-play man here, calling 2 more shows. Last one being June 2nd out in Burbank, California. It's an LFA show, and if you are in that area, go and catch it. I can vouch for the LFA shows. They're outstanding. And, of course, on the call is Michael Schiavello with Pat Miletich, and they do a great job. All right, folks, we'll be right back after this break.
to link into the MMA Junkie Radio Network, hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
We're going to do MMA history in just a second. Stripper names goes. If you were a female.
Either silver or silhouette.
I'm going with Rose Petal, Schiavello.
Virgin.
Jason B.
Jiggly Jessica.
Jiggly Jessica. All right. What happened in MMA history today? And if you have a dandy from yesterday, because we skipped it, share that too.
Okay.
Whatever you have.
Left my notes over there, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Yesterday, 19 years ago, Jeff Blatnick was named the new commissioner of the UFC. I got this. New commissioner of the UFC 19 years ago, and he introduced the term mixed martial arts because he wanted to clean up the sport from its no hold bars, nut shots and stuff like that. So he wanted to make it more of a sport. So he named it mixed martial arts.
UFC Hall of Famer, may rest in peace. Good one. How about today?
Today, 21 years ago, Bas Rutten finished his trilogy with Frank Shamrock in Pancrase. So his third fight. Of course, his first fight he lost by majority decision. His second fight he lost by split decision. No, won by split decision rather, sorry. And on this date, he won by TKO. And funny thing, Bas Rutten has 4 losses on his record, and 3 of those
are to Shamrocks.
I'll
give you a word of advice. You ever meet him, you must not say Bass. Boss.
If
you say Bass, you'll say, I'm not a fish. I'm not a fish. Boss, not Bass. I'm not a fish.
Yeah. The great Bas Rutten, 3-time King of Pancrase and UFC heavyweight champion, and now a UFC Hall of Famer. Yeah. Awesome person.
Deserved.
Good stuff. And tonight, what do we have on tap as far as outside of in other sports? Anything of note? Or
we have the Spurs and Golden State Warriors play tonight, I believe. Okay. And then we have a
in
hockey game.
Golden State. Yeah.
We have the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nope, they played yesterday. We have the Nashville Predators versus Anaheim Ducks in their third game of the series.
Go Ducks! All right.
Who's the other team?
On the East.
No, who's playing the Ducks?
Predators.
Nashville Predators.
Where are they from?
Nashville.
Oh, Nashville?
Yeah.
Nashville,
Oh, that's
Tennessee.
tough. See, I like Nashville, but I like Disneyland.
Yeah.
I don't know who to go for.
Got to go for the Ducks.
Yeah, I'll go
Flip
for
the
Ducks. I'll go for Ducks. Go Ducks.
Thank you to @MMA History today.
MMA History.
Well done.
Twitter, Instagram. Go follow him.
Awesome. All right. Stick around. Let's do a couple calls, and then we got to wrap things up. Marco from Waco, Texas. What you got, man?
Marco from Waco, que pasa, vatos, and Michael the Voice Schiavello.
Hello.
Last time we get the battle of the axes, man. Last time.
You win, hands down. I pass the baton to you in that accent.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Hey, quick shout out to my baby boy Rodrigo. He turned 7 years old on Sunday. So that happy birthday song at the beginning of the segment was pretty cute. Let's talk about James Vick and Jason the Hick Knight, man. Love what you guys did in the interview with James Vick, but you gotta pay attention to Jason Knight, bro. I'm on the bandwagon of this kid. This kid is special. The kid got something, man. He got the it factor. Hick Diaz is a star in the making, and you guys need to get him either in a studio or an interview. Start pushing this guy, because I'm telling you, this guy's gonna become something. Hick Diaz is the kid of the trailer parks. We'll let you guys catch you guys tomorrow.
All right, we'll see. You know, I actually touched base with him. He's agreed to be on the show, and haven't been able to lock down a time, but we'll see what we can follow up. I like Jason Knight. His win over Chaz Skelly was a thing of beauty, man. I mean, he worked it on the ground. He worked it on the feet. He's got some skills. Let's go to Aaron in Texas. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Mr. Schiavello, how are you, sir?
Aaron, good mate. Thank you very much. I can understand you. I had no idea what Marco just said, by the way. I had no clue of what he said. I heard my name, and the rest of them just nodding, going, I have no idea what he's saying. Aaron, it's good to hear from you, buddy.
That wasn't a Texas accent, I can promise you that. No, I was a little offended, though, by your comments about Dallas. But then again, I'm not really from Dallas. I'm from Missouri first, then Texas. So
there you go.
It's not here nor there. Hey, at least the Bomb Factory's a sweet venue, right?
Yeah, Bomb Factory's a cool venue, I got to say. Bomb Factory is a very cool venue.
Yeah, it's a great place for fights. And one of the highlights of my career as somebody who works in the sport of MMA and boxing is having you. First, you call the fights that I judge.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So
that was a hell of an honor, man.
Let me tell you something. Aaron from Texas was a listener of our show, is a listener of our show, a caller, and a young kid out of college who decided to become part of the show. And so what he did was he took – it was McCarthy's class, right? Aaron?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
It was.
So he went and did the McCarthy seminar for judging and refereeing. He started doing some smaller gigs along the way, and eventually, started donning the suit and got to the level of one of the shows on television. So he had to back away from the show with offering too many opinions, but still, he's a junkie through and through. He comes to all the junkie gatherings. Finally made it on the show, and you actually gave him some praise on some breakups that he had or whatever. He got in right at the right time, when the fight needed to be separated. And it was kind of cool to just hear all that, to hear you praise him. Pat co-signed.
I remember.
Him being on TV was really, really cool.
Aaron Minard, very
yeah.
good referee. I remember, Aaron. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. And then continue doing the good refereeing job, mate. You're doing a stellar job.
Absolutely. Maybe you'll be calling some fights one day in Australia, and maybe I make a road trip over there.
That'd be great, mate. Love to see you down under.
Thanks, Aaron. We got to move on. We'll see you in about a week. Hal from Chicago, last call. What's up, Hal?
Hi, guys. Hey, I do Mike, and just going to get a little junkie karma. I was hoping to get some junkie karma for you. My boys' team, Little League team, game 1 of the playoffs, the Noble Knights. We're going, so just hoping to get some junkie karma from you guys.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest fighters that gets underrated, Frankie Edgar, he proved it again this weekend like I knew he would. This guy has lost to 3 people his whole career. 3 people. Maynard, Henderson, and Aldo. He only loses to the best. Aldo is the only guy that could beat him. He's top notch, and I hope he gets his title shot soon.
Good stuff, Hal. He avenged the Maynard loss, and then with Benson they were splits. So really, only Jose is the guy that's kind of handed it to him. Christian from Houston, you got about 15 seconds. What's up, Christian?
Hello. I just want to say to Mr. Schiavello, it's going to be a shame not hearing you on American television anymore, but I got to ask real quick. What's the one thing you don't miss about covering mixed martial arts, especially in the United States for Access TV?
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. Just a lot of fun, mate, commentating shows week in, week out on the road with the crew. I'll miss it, and some great up-and-coming fighters that have gone on to the UFC from our shows in the big leagues.
There you have it. Folks, follow him on Twitter, @Schiavello Voice. Michael, thanks for coming and doing our show, our friendship, and, the great work that you do in our sport. And we'll be seeing more of you at the gathering, so this isn't our final goodbyes. But it is with you, Junkie Nation. See you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be champions.
I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime.